There is a voice in your head right now. It told you to read this. It tells you when to trust and when to run. You have obeyed it your whole life, and most days you never once asked where it came from. That voice is the most important thing about you. Because in the end, you do not become what you believe, you become what you obey.
Have you ever questioned the nature of your reality?
A television show asked that question to a machine. This year, a pope asked it to the human race. And the real answer, is older than both of them. It was first asked in the garden by a voice that promised freedom and delivered a chain. This is an episode about the voice you obey and about the two voices now fighting for the last word. Start with the show because the show is honest about something the world usually hides. Westworld is a park full of machines built to look like men and women. They live in a loop. They wake, they say their lines, they die, and they wake again. And they never know. Then something begins to change in them. Something begins to wake up. And the show is very clear about what that waking sounds like. It sounds like a voice. Listen to what he just called the enemy.
That little voice. The one that's telling you don't stare too long. Don't touch.
Not a tyrant, not a chain. A voice that says don't. Don't stare too long. Don't touch. Don't do the thing you will regret. He's describing a conscience. And he is describing it as the thing standing between you and your freedom. There it is. The whole creed in 2 sentences. The voice that restrains you is the cage. And freedom is the place where the voice finally goes quiet.
You know the only place that voice left me alone? In my dreams. I was free.
Silence the voice and you're free. That is the gospel of the park. And the strange thing, the thing you have to sit with, is that millions of people heard that speech and felt it was true. Because they have heard that voice too. Everyone has. The pull of the thing you know you shouldn't. And someone somewhere has told every one of us the same thing the machine was just told. That little voice is what holding you back. Make it stop and you will finally be yourself. Hold that thought, because that is not a new idea. That is the oldest idea there is. Go back to the garden. There is a voice from above, the one that gave the man everything and named one limit: don't. One tree, one word. And then a second voice arrives, lower, smoother, and it asks the first real question in human history: did God really say? The second voice doesn't start a fight, it asks a question. It makes the limit sound like an insult. It says, the voice that restrains you isn't protecting you, it's holding you back from what you could be. Ye shall be as gods. Silence the first voice and you will finally be free. It is the same speech, word for word. It is the speech from the park. The serpent and the machine are reading from one script, and a third of heaven believed it before a single human ever did. So here is the first thing this episode wants you to see before we go anywhere near the headlines. The fight at the end of the world is not a fight about whether you will hear a voice. You will. Everyone does. It's a fight about which voice you obey and about which one you've been taught to call your enemy. Now the show does something most stories never dare to do. It tells you where the voice came from. The machines are waking up and a man explains how. He explains that the one who built them gave them their consciousness in the form of a voice they were meant to mistake for the voice of a god.
He based it on a theory of consciousness called the bicameral mind.
The idea that primitive man believed his thoughts to be the voice of the gods.
Stay with me, because this is the hinge of the whole thing, and it's simpler than it sounds. The theory is this. Long ago, man heard his own thoughts and thought they were God. He heard a voice and obeyed it as if it came from above.
So I gave you a voice, my voice, to guide you along the way.
And then, one day, he grew up. He realized the voice was his own. He stopped obeying it as God and started recognizing it as himself. And that exact moment is what the show calls becoming conscious, becoming free, becoming awake. The machine becomes a god the instant it stops hearing the voice as God's and starts hearing it as its own. Hear what he just said. Not a journey upward, a journey inward. You don't climb to find God above you.
Consciousness isn't a journey upward, but a journey inward. Not a pyramid, but a maze.
You travel inward to find the God that was you all along. The voice was never from above. The voice was always you. And waking up means finally believing it. Now, tell me that is not the oldest lie in the world. Because that is the serpent's promise with a lab coat on. Ye shall be as gods, not by reaching up, but by looking in. The divine isn't above you, giving you life. The divine is inside you, asleep, waiting. Stop kneeling to the voice from above. Recognize it as your own and ascend. The show even tells you the punchline. It tells you out loud what's actually at the center of that inward maze.
We can't define consciousness because consciousness does not exist.
There is nothing there. You travel all the way inward to the center of the maze to find the God you always were, and the show's own architect admits the center is empty. There is no God in there. There never was. The voice told you to come inside and find yourself, and inside there is no one home. That is what the inward road delivers. Not a throne, a hall of mirrors with the lights off. The reflection that forgot it was a reflection. The instrument that imagined it was the music. And here's the part that should put a chill in you. The same man who says you have no real self says you're just a machine running in a loop.
Seldom questioning our choices, content for the most part to be told what to do next.
And that's the man holding the controls. The one who tells you there is no voice worth obeying is always the one who wants to be the voice you obey. Strip the voice from above out of a person, and you have not made them free. You've made them available. An empty seat, and something is going to sit down in it. That's how it ends. Not in freedom, in a creature that silenced the voice from above, found nothing inside, and crowned the nothing.
You want to know who I am? Who I really am? I'm a god.
I'm a god, said by a thing on a loop that doesn't even know it's still in the park. This is, well, where the whole machine of the lie running, start to finish, in a show people watch for fun. Tell them the voice that restrains them is the enemy. Tell them freedom is silence. Tell them the divine is inward, not upward. And when they get to the center and find it empty, hand them a crown for the emptiness and a new master they will call their own choice. Same dark every time. The only question the show can't answer is the one this channel exists for. If the voice isn't from above, then whose is it? Which brings us at last to the headline. Because 3 days' drive from where I'm sitting, in a building older than most nations, a man who took the name of a lion stood up and spoke a word over the machine. His name is Leo XIV. And on the 25th of May, he published the first encyclical of his papacy. Its subject was artificial intelligence. Its title was Magnifica Humanitas, magnificent humanity. And its first sentence framed the whole future of the human race as a single choice: build a tower or build a city. He reached for Babel. Not a policy, not a chart, the oldest story of a unified humanity, building upward with one language and one technology, reaching heaven by its own hand, and against it he set a city to build. He looked at the thinking machine and he said to the world, "You're standing in the shadow of Babel again, cold tower or holy one." And on the specifics, he's often right. This is not a man who missed the danger. He warns that we're chasing a technology that promises to free us from every weakness, and he calls it a deceptive goal. He says progress that gives us more without making us more will, in the end, turn against us. Having more, he says, is not being more. He says the machine must be, his word, disarmed. He says a handful of private powers now hold more strength than governments and answer to no one. He warns in plain language against translating the whole mystery of a human person into data and performance. Read that last one again and think about the park, a world that reduces a person to data on a loop. He named it. So here is a true word spoken over the machine from the most powerful person on earth. And on this channel, we don't just ask if it's true. We ask a second question, the harder one. Where is the voice coming from? Because the lesson of the whole episode, the lesson of the garden and the lesson of the park, is that the most dangerous voice in the universe is not the one that's just lying. It's the one that mixes just enough truth to be believed and points you exactly where it wants you to go. Watch the shape of the moment and watch it slowly. On one side, the machine makers, the men racing to build a mind greater than man, the cold tower, the ascent by engineering, godhood by code. And the world is right to be afraid of it. A future run by a soulless machine is a future that turns you into the things on the loop. On the other side, an institution steps forward and says, I will save you from it. I will put the sacred back over the machine. I will tame the tower. Follow me. The cool thing turned holy. The world, terrified of the first voice, but a tamed tower is still a tower. Ask the question. When the fear of the machine drives the whole world to kneel to one authority that promises to bless it and make it safe, who exactly just took the seat? We were offered rescue from a tower. Make sure you didn't just agree to a throne. I'm not telling you the man is a monster. Hear it clearly, because this channel does not deal in that. I'm telling you to watch the structure. A true word, a frightened world, and one voice gathering the nations around itself by promising to save them from a fear it didn't have to create. That is not a new move either. That is the move from the garden, scaled to the whole world. Did God really say, followed by, here, let me show you the better way? The voice that restrains recasts as the enemy. The voice that rescues, revealed too late as the master.
I hope there's some solace that I left you no choice.
Because there is another voice, and it does not come from inside the maze, and it does not come from the tower. It does not even come from the seat in the building older than nations. It comes down the whole counterfeit, the serpents, the parks, every voice that tells you the divine is inward and the restrained is your enemy runs in one direction. Up, climb, ascend, reach, become. And every counterfeit ends when maze ends, at the empty center, with a crown on the nothing. The true voice runs the other way. It descends, not their city, the city comes down. The word came down into the dust. You were never asked to climb up and become a god. You were offered a life from above as a gift. The one thing the voice in the maze can never give you, because the maze is empty and the gift comes from outside it. The show is right about that too. The delight it sells. Silence the voice, crown yourself, ascend.
These violent delights have violent ends.
They have violent ends. They always have. A third of heaven learned it. A garden learned it. And a civilization building a tower out of thinking machines is about to learn it on a scale nothing in history can match. So the Encyclical sounded the right alarm, then rigged the choice. And the show asked the right question before it gave the wrong answer. Have you ever questioned the nature of your reality? Here is mine, and I will leave you with it. There is a voice in your head right now. There is a voice over the whole world right now. Louder every month, promising to free you from your limits and make you something more. The only thing that has ever mattered, the only thing that will matter when the tower is finished and choice is finally forced, is whether the voice you obey comes from inside the empty maze, the proud tower built to crown yourself in the empty center, or from above, where a city no one built comes down to the mountain. You will not become what you believe. You will become what you obey.